Thanks for clicking. You'd be stupid not to buy GTA real estate right now. This according to a recent CBC expose on the GTA real estate market.
So you'd be stupid not to buy.
And truthishly, we should just accept that.
And yeah, for this in-depth analysis, the CBC, taking a page out of Andrew Yang's playbook, consulted with two GTA realtors and Jason Mercer, Chief Information Officer from the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board.
I mean, you talk about pent-up demand.
And so confident in the accuracy and integrity of their work, the CBC turned comments off in their video. So feel free to leave a comment on this video as to whether or not you think consulting with realtors as to the best time to buy real estate is either smart or stupid.
Well, what'd they say?
So what I want to do today is very briefly go over the definition of stupid, apply it to CBC's most recent attempt at understanding the real estate market, after, as we'll see, 2 or 3 failed ones, and then go over some implications. As we'll see today, and as we've tried to stress so many times on this channel, there's often a great big disconnect between the narrative presented in the media and what occurs on the ground, though we will obviously continue to disentangle both on this channel. Make sure you click like and subscribe if you want to get those updates, but for now, let's get into this expose. On to the real estate market as presented by the CBC. First off, let's very briefly define stupid. According to Merriam-Webster, stupid is being slow of mind, making unintelligent decisions or acts, acting in an unintelligent or careless manner. So, unintelligent or careless, kind of like consulting with people that have an interest in what happens to the real estate market to find out what's going to happen in the real estate market. Would any intelligent person or organization consult with a car salesman to find out if it's the best time to buy a car?
You thought it was a good idea.
No, and the reason that you wouldn't is that because it's a conflict of interest. A car salesman has a financial interest in the outcome of your decision. So if an organization were to consult with realtors, say at the beginning of a trade war, to see if that trade war was the perfect window to buy a home, then that organization would be
stupid?
Yeah, especially since in the GTA, since that video aired, Toronto's benchmark price has now dropped $130,000. In a similar vein, if that same organization went back to the realtors, say 5 or 6 months later, to ask if it was a now or never time for home buyers to get into the market,
I think we're sort of close to the bottom of where we're going to be.
Now, prices have only dropped $30,000 since that last study, but given that CBC went back to the well, demonstrating a lack of power to absorb ideas or impressions, then that organization would again be
I'm smart! Not like everybody says! Like dumb!
But sure, maybe the third time that the CBC is going to the realtors for advice, maybe this is the time they get it right.
In fact, realtors all over the city are being approached by first-time buyers more than they have in years.
Well, there we have it. If realtors are telling us that interest is growing in the market, then that must very much be the case. Like the time in May of 2025 when London realtors told CBC that pent-up demand could lead to a strong summer in London. London prices are now down $40,000 since that point. But let's take a look at this video nonetheless. First up, Managing Director of Agency Toronto West.
I'm working with a buyer right now who has been renting for the last 8 years, just saving his money. I'm like, there's like 1,000 units on the market right now. So you'd be stupid not to buy.
So because there's so much inventory on the market, it's stupid not to buy. And the CBC took that argument and ran with it.
And I want respect!
Now, I'm not sure which property type this realtor is speaking of, as it's not mentioned in the video. Not only does the CBC turn to a realtor for its expert advice, it turns to a realtor that doesn't bother to get the exact stats before the interview with the national news station. But it doesn't really matter for our purposes. Active listings in Toronto in January were at an all-time high for January, and since last year, when inventory was even less, prices have dropped by $130,000. So why on earth would you buy now if the price of the home is going to be cheaper tomorrow?
Because I need money for lunch.
Now, choosing to buy right now does not make you stupid. People obviously need a place to stay, and everyone has different timelines. Choosing not to buy right now also does not make you stupid. But a taxpayer-funded news organization that puts forward that kind of argument as evidence.
Stupid.
Fear not, though, the CBC pulled out all the stops on this one, talking to not just one, but 2 realtors on the state of the real estate market.
Had more renters reaching out over the past few weeks looking to finally make the leap to homeownership.
But that's just one realtor. That's just one realtor's opinion. That only gives us the state of the market according to that realtor's circle of influence. It means that that circle of influence has been a buzz. Nothing about the state of the aggregate market. Remember, realtors have been telling us since 2022, 4 years ago, that pent-up demand was just waiting to jump back into the market.
Pent-up buyer demand.
There is pent-up investor demand.
Pent-up buyer demand.
And again, individual realtors are not experts as to the state of the aggregate real estate market. I would think CBC would know this by now.
Experts predict that things are going to heat up in the spring, leading to a more robust market in the following months.
I'm predicting that it is going to become a seller's market again.
In Windsor, on the eve of a trade war, the average price in Windsor is now down by $50,000. Speaking of which, lastly, and certainly not least, the CBC then turns to the Minister of Propaganda and Popular Enlightenment. TREB's Chief Information Officer, Jason Mercer.
Estate experts say this could lead to a housing shortage in a few years' time.
And we've heard stories about obviously, low pre-construction sales. Eventually that's going to translate into fewer starts and fewer completions down the road. And so
that makes more sense. Because prices are so low, builders aren't building, which means we're going to have a lack of supply. So within a few years from now, when all of that lack of supply comes to a head, prices are going to shoot back up. That's coming from Jason Mercer, who at the beginning of 2022 told us that those massive home price increases were due to a lack of supply. That was back in January of 2022. Since then, the benchmark price in Toronto has dropped by $323,000. So there you go. That's our taxpayer-funded news organization telling us once again that it's a great time to buy. Buyers are stupid if they don't, despite all of the evidence, all of the data to the contrary. Now, is it surprising that realtors are making these assertions? Best time to buy, pent-up demand, great time to buy, perfect window to buy on the eve of a trade war with the global hegemon? No, that's not surprising at all. That's like getting mad at your dog for eating the steak that's left out on the table.
I think we can trust him.
But for the CBC to continue to go back to that well, knowing A, realtors' track record, and B, very much understanding conflict of interests, there's a word for that.
Stupid?
Well, yeah, either that or just incredibly, massively bad at your job. Unless your job is ad revenue. And finally, the icing on the cake, the CBC has the gall to downplay where people get their information.
She recommends avoiding social media advice and instead sitting down with someone who can help make the numbers make sense to your specific situation.
Can't trust anybody.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, and I think I do because there was a lot of us out there that were saying it, social media very much told people that the eve of a trade war probably wasn't the best time to be buying a home, which is far more than I can say for media.
Now might be a pretty good time.
Anyway, CBC, taxpayer-funded media, we spend how many billions of dollars to this organization every year, and this is the kind of nonsense they come out with over and over and over again, turning to the realtors for expert advice as to what we should do in the real estate market. Now, more than ever, make sure you follow the data. As we've shown so many times over and over on this channel, you obviously can't trust the narrative that's put forward in the mainstream media. We will obviously continue to eschew the stupidity and get down to the data on this channel. Make sure you click, like, and subscribe if you want to get those updates. But for now, thanks so much for watching.